General Hospital spoilers for Monday, August 25 state that Jason Morgan will offer Britt Westbourne an escape, while Alexis Davis will face an unexpected restraining order. Rick Lansing will also criticize Christina Corinthos Davis. So this is what GH fans can expect. For starters, Lulu Spencer will inquire whether Brooke Lynn Quartermain is prepared for this, so they can pay an unconscious Maxie Jones a visit and prepare for some painful medical updates. Martin Gray will make an admission to Laura Collins. Martin will explain the recent Drew Kane story and reveal that he has made a very deadly adversary. Next, Drew appears to be luring Alexis to a meeting under the premise of negotiating a Scout Quartermain agreement. Instead, Alexis will rage when she is served with a restraining order, so things are going to get even hotter. Cody Bell will have to explain himself at the Quartermain stables after Molly Lansing Davis spotted him in a heated moment with Ava Jerome. Cody will demand an opportunity to explain, swearing that this was all Christina's idea. Molly will have concerns after learning about this seduction attempt, and she will wonder why Christina has worked so hard to pull Rick and Ava apart. Of course, Cody and Molly have genuine affections for each other, but all of this Ava drama may cause another setback as Molly absorbs everything. Over with Rick and Christina, their dispute will spin out of control. Rick will lose his cool and warn Christina that prison is her next stop, so he will put her on full blast in some dramatic scenes. At the Five Poppies Resort, Jason will make an emotional plea to Britt. Despite Jason's insistence that he can take Britt any place she wants, she will inevitably reject his escape offer. Britt must remain present and complete her blood work, or she will not receive the medicine doses she requires. Jason will only want to get Britt out of there, but she will warn that it is not that simple for her. According to General Hospital spoilers, Jocelyn Jackson Vaughn will stay in severe danger now that they have been taken captive on the property, so things will not be easy for them either. According to General Hospital spoilers, Drew Kane develops a new enemy nearly every day. Drew recently fired Martin Gray because he refused to sign a witness statement that accused Michael Corinthos of attacking the congressman. Martin is upset with Drew because he assigned investigators to investigate into Stella Henry's alleged insurance fraud activity. However, Martin is not the only one who has a grudge against Drew. Who shot Drew Kane? With a suspect pool that might fill the police station lobby, it appears that someone will shortly try Drew's life. It remains to be seen whether they are successful, but someone will almost certainly try to put an end to Drew once and for all. Michael would undoubtedly be at the top of the suspect list, but he is far from the only person who despises Drew enough to attempt to kill him. Curtis Ashford's feud with Drew, as well as his hatred for Nina Reeves, has made for a popular site. Ada Turner has seen Drew Kane's true colors. Although she was formerly exclusively dedicated on bringing Sonny Corinthos down, Ada Justine Turner has just witnessed Drew's effort to extort Sonny for personal gain. Turner has contacted Police Commissioner Anna Devane to begin creating a case against Drew, knowing that any complaint cannot come straight from her. Maybe they'll begin with his effort to frame Tracy Quartermain for drugging him. Will Drew Kane be murdered or imprisoned? At this point, it's anyone's guess whether they'll be able to gather enough information against Drew before someone decides to take action. Most likely, a warrant will be issued for Drew, but instead of apprehending him, officers will discover Drew dead or gravely injured. It's a race against time at this point, and Drew should hope to be apprehended before he dies. What are your thoughts? Is there enough proof to convince Drew? Has Drew created too many enemies? Who do you think will eventually take Drew out? Anything can happen in Port Charles, so stay tuned to General Hospital, which airs weekdays on ABC. Don't forget to come back here on a regular basis for the latest General Hospital news, information, and spoilers. Jason sat in the quiet corner of the Metro Court, his back to the window and his gaze locked on the untouched glass of whiskey in front of him. The city moved outside, but everything inside his head remained cruelly motionless. Britt had called him 2 nights before, her voice cracking as she said that she couldn't handle it any longer. The continual pressure, the threats, the never-ending game of survival that came with being entangled in Port Charles's darkest corners. Jason understood what she was asking before she said it. She wanted to get out of the chaos, the danger, and the burden of secrets. He had deliberated long and hard before making his decision, but tonight he was certain. He was going to offer her a way out. When Britt eventually came, she slipped into the booth across from him without saying anything. Her blonde hair was pushed back, and her face appeared pale but composed. The tension between them was palpable, an unsaid recognition of everything they'd both gone through to get here. Jason moved forward slightly, keeping his voice low so no one could listen. "I can get you out," he replied. There is no preface or hesitation, only the offer. Her breath caught, and her wide eyes searched his face for any signs of hesitancy. There was none. "You mean to leave Port Charles?" she inquired softly, almost afraid to believe it was possible. He nodded. "Leave everything. I've got a solution. Clean papers, cash, and transportation. Nobody would be able to find you, Britt. Not even me." Her fingers trembled on the table edge as she processed his words. It seemed so straightforward, but nothing in their life ever was. "And you? Would you just let me go?" Her voice was tinged with disbelief, as if a part of her wanted him to declare he would follow her. Jason's countenance softened, and his guarded walls lowered just enough to allow her to glimpse the truth. "If staying here means you keep getting hurt or constantly looking over your shoulder, I'd let you go," neither of them said for a moment. The stillness spoke more than words could. But just as Britt was about to speak, Jason's phone buzzed on the table. A quick peek at the television altered the air around them. "Alexis." He nearly didn't respond, but something compelled him to. "Yeah," he remarked quietly, rising to move a few feet away from the table. "Jason, it's Alexis," said the strained voice from the other end. "We should talk. Now. It's about Christina." The name alone made him pause in his tracks. Christina Corinthos Davis is Sunny's and Alexis' daughter, a young woman who has repeatedly found herself in difficulty, drawn into situations beyond her control. "What happened?" There was a pause filled with tiredness and frustration. "I filed a restraining order against Rick," Alexis finally revealed. "He's been surrounding Christina again, pushing the boundaries, getting too near. I don't trust his motives. I need you to keep an eye on her until this is resolved legally." Jason's jaw stiffened at the mention of Rick Lansing. They had a long history together and it was all bad. "Where is she now?" "She is with Molly, but it won't last. Rick confronted her earlier today. She is shaken, Jason. I'm not sure what he said, but she hasn't stopped weeping since she got home." Jason returned his gaze to Britt, who was staring at him with a confused expression. He inhaled deeply and squeezed the bridge of his nose. "I'll handle it," he finally replied before hanging up. When Britt returned to the table, he grimaced. "What is going on?" "It's Christina," he confessed. "Rick is back in the picture, and Alexis is concerned he is targeting her. I need to deal with this before I can help you." Britt paused, her fingers twitching beneath the table. She wanted to be his top concern, but she also knew better than anyone what it meant to have a family in peril. "Go," she replied gently. "I'll wait." Jason nodded, grateful for her understanding, but he felt uneasy. Rick Lansing was deceitful and dangerous in ways that did not necessarily result in violence. He had the ability to penetrate people's minds, and Christina was especially vulnerable. By the time Jason arrived to Alexis' house, heated shouts rang from the front yard. Rick stood at the bottom of the porch steps, his suit jacket open, and his face flushed with rage. Christina was halfway down the stairs, tears streaming down her cheeks as she pleaded with him to leave. "Rick, you don't get to decide what is best for me," she yelled, her voice breaking. "I am your father." Rick responded sharply, his fury bordering on desperation. "I have the right to be in your life. You lost that right years ago," Alexis yelled as she appeared in the doorway, her legal composure fraying beneath the weight of mother rage. "This is not about you. It's about Christina's safety, and you're not wanted here." Rick glared at her, his voice low and angry. "You've poisoned her against me since the day she was born." Jason stepped forward before Alexis could react, drawing Rick's attention. "Leave," he replied firmly, his voice low yet menacing. Rick scoffed and stretched his arms wide in fake submission. "And what, Jason? Are you Christina's new bodyguard? This is not your fight." Jason did not blink or flinch. "It is if you don't walk away right now." Rick paused for a while, his jaw clenching as he considered his next move. But he wasn't stupid. Jason Morgan wasn't someone to cross without consequences. Finally, Rick shook his head and stepped away, saying something under his breath as he walked to his car. Christina dropped on the porch steps, hiding her face in her hands, as Alexis knelt by her and pulled her into a close embrace. Jason stood close, monitoring the street until Rick's car vanished from view. "Thank you," Alexis said after a moment, her voice unsteady but steady with each syllable. "He simply refuses to stop. I thought the restraining order would be enough, but Rick is unconcerned with the law. He never has." Jason nodded. "I'll make certain Christina is safeguarded. He will not come near her again." But even as he said that, he knew it wasn't finished. Rick Lansing never walked away quietly. Later that night, Jason returned to Britt's apartment, fatigued but determined. She answered the door before he could knock, concern written over her face. "How bad was it?" "Bad enough," he said, raking his hand through his hair. "But it's handled for the time being." Britt nodded, standing aside to let him in. The stillness between them was thicker this time, weighed down by everything left unsaid. The risk, the options, and the unavoidable implications of both staying and going. Jason sat on the edge of the couch, leaning forward with his elbows against his knees. "If you still want out," he continued softly, "we leave tomorrow night." Britt paused, her breath quickening as she scanned his face for any indication of doubt. However, there was none. "And if I say yes," she asked quietly, "what happens to you?" "I stay," he said simply. "Poor Charles is my fight. Always has been." She gulped hard and looked away for a moment before returning his gaze. "What happens if I say no?" Jason hesitated, his jaw tightening, and finally said, "Then we figure it out. Together." Britt smiled for the first time in weeks, small and timid but genuine. But before they could say anything else, Jason's phone buzzed again. It was Alexis. He almost didn't answer, but his intuition urged him to. Her voice trembled. "Jason, Rick is threatening to file for custody." Jason's body fell still. "Custody of whom?" "Christina," Alexis said quietly, her voice breaking. "He is going to drag her through court. He plans to use every mistake I've ever made against me. I don't know if I can stop him." Jason closed his eyes and exhaled slowly as the weight of her words hit him. He knew Rick well enough to know what was coming. It wasn't about custody. It was all about control. Rick had discovered another technique to get under their skin, and he was not going to stop until he got what he wanted. Jason stared at Britt, who was calmly studying him and reading his face like an open book. She already knew what his response would be before he spoke. "I'll handle it," he finally said, his voice low but calm, because this is what Jason Morgan did. He defended those he cared about, regardless of the expense. But deep down, he knew the cost of this struggle was going to be more than any of them were willing to pay. Anna sat in her office, the shades shut to prevent prying eyes from seeing the anxiety on her face. The silence was deep, interrupted only by the gentle hum of the air conditioner. She leaned back in her chair, staring at the stack of paperwork in front of her, knowing that what she was about to do would alter everything, for Drew, for Port Charles, and for herself. There was no turning back now, not with so many secrets at risk. Ada Turner entered without knocking, locking the door behind him as he stepped inside. He was holding a leather folder under his arm, his gaze steely and resolute. "We need to move," he stated firmly, laying the folder on Anna's desk. "If we wait any longer, Drew will bury us in layers of misinformation. He's been 2 steps ahead of everyone since this began." Anna folded her arms and studied Turner intently. "We cannot simply move without precision. One incorrect move and he'll realize we're after him. Drew is not irresponsible. He considers everything." Turner groaned, his irritation barely held. "If we don't dismantle his network first, we'll fail before we even begin. You underestimate how rapidly he consolidates power, Anna. He has resources coming in from places we didn't know existed. Offshore accounts, shell businesses, and insider connections. It's greater than we imagined. And if we don't act now, he'll put himself in a situation where we won't be able to reach him." Anna opened the packet Turner had brought, skimming through pages of bank records, surveillance reports, and coded conversations. Each new detail created a darker picture than the last. Drew had carefully planned an operation under everyone's eyes. utilizing alliances that no one had imagined. It wasn't just money or power. Drew was driven by something deeper, something personal, and Anna knew Drew well enough to see that when he was emotionally motivated, he became unpredictable. "This isn't about greed," Anna remarked gently, almost to herself. "Drew's playing the long game. He is wrecking people's life piece by piece." Turner nodded, leaning forward with determination. "Exactly why we need to cut the head off the snake before it coils around all of us." They spent the next few hours plotting, mapping out Drew's connections, from his business associates to the silent operatives he'd planted across Port Charles. Turner proposed utilizing leverage against Drew's closest associates, isolating him until he had nowhere to turn. Anna, on the other hand, understood that they couldn't afford to make poor maneuvers that would alert him. Drew was not the type of man you approached lightly. "First, we need eyes on him 24/7, Anna emphasized, tapping the monitoring logs. "Not just his movements but everyone he talks to and where he travels." Turner paused, his jaw clenching. "If we miss one meeting, one late-night call, we may lose our opportunity. What if he gets wind of the surveillance?" Anna flashed a weak, humorless smile. "Then we make sure he doesn't." By dark, the plan was put into action. Anna arranged for Jordan to reroute specific patrol units, ensuring that Drew's movements went unobserved at observation sites. Turner, meantime, began working the legal avenues, drafting sealed warrants that could be activated whenever they had enough proof to do a clean takedown. However, as they delved deeper, the risk increased. Each path they took appeared to lead back to someone powerful, untouchable. Drew had become so entrenched in Port Charles's political machinery that it was becoming more difficult to remove him without collapsing half of it. 2 nights later, Anna stood outside the pier, the moist air clinging to her skin as she waited for Turner. He arrived a few minutes later, his coat snug against the cold. "We've got a problem," he stated without hesitation. "One of our sources has gone black. Drew's offshore transfers were being tracked by someone who is no longer with us." Anna narrowed her gaze. "Do you think Drew made him?" Turner hesitated. "I believe Drew is 2 steps ahead. Exactly like I warned you. Whatever we've been piecing together, he's known for weeks." Anna swore under her breath as she paced slowly. "Then we need to reconsider this. We hit him from unexpected angles. He believes we are constructing a case. Let's make him believe it. While he's trying to respond, we attack his network from underneath." Turner frowned, unconvinced. "Do you want to bait him?" "Yes," Anna said, her voice low and forceful. "We make him think we're chasing breadcrumbs while quietly destroying his foundation. The instant he realizes the walls are closing in on him, it will be too late to escape." For days, the anxiety in Port Charles was tangible. Drew continued to act as if nothing was wrong, attending meetings, smiling at people, and trying to be the same man everyone thought they knew. However, behind closed doors, Anna and Turner's covert operation got stronger. They quietly locked down his banking routes, intercepted coded messages, and flipped 2 of his lower-level associates without Drew's knowledge. Then late one evening, Turner burst into Anna's office, face pale. "He knows." Anna straightened swiftly. "What happened?" "He just took everything offshore, every last penny. He is transferring assets to a private trust in Singapore. We have a 6-hour window before it's gone," Anna said without hesitation. "Freeze everything." Turner shook his head sternly. "Get the court orders signed now. We don't have enough evidence to support the freeze without betraying our hand. If we go too quickly, Drew will know who is chasing him." Anna's jaw clenched, her frustration intense. "Then we take a chance. If we don't, we'll miss our sole chance to track him down." Turner thought briefly before nodding. "I'll make the call." But Drew wasn't going quietly. Within hours, their digital trace was erased, his accounts were deleted, and his lawyers were deployed. He anticipated each move they took. It devolved into a hazardous shadow game in which the hunter and hunted became indistinguishable. Late that night, Anna sat in her apartment, gazing out at the lights of Port Charles, feeling the weight of every decision bear down on her. She wasn't only after Drew for justice. There were larger implications. If he succeeded in his scheme, more than a few lives would be lost. Turner called her at morning. "We've got him," he replied simply. "One of his proxies has slipped." We traced an account linked to a fictitious corporation directly back to him. We can take this to a judge. Anna's relief was brief. Before they could react, Drew struck first. By the time she arrived at the station, anarchy had broken out. Drew had leaked papers incriminating several high-ranking officials in corruption issues, severing ties Anna had built. In a single move, he destabilized their entire strategy and changed public sentiment in his favor. Turner tossed a file onto the table, his rage bubbling over. He is turning this into a war. If we don't put him down now, he'll bury us. Anna looked at him, her resolve unwavering despite the tumult. Then we stopped playing defense. At that point they went all in. No more subtlety or misdirection. Anna pulled every string she could, enlisting favors, leveraging past debts, and coercing unwilling participants. Turner sought emergency injunctions, freezing Drew's movements wherever feasible. They gradually closed the walls around him. The final confrontation happened sooner than either of them imagined. Drew strode into Metro Court, cool and collected, as if he didn't have half the judicial system on his trail. Anna and Turner were already waiting, their case solid and their proof undeniable. "Anna," Drew whispered softly, a slight smile on his lips. "You've been busy." She returned his look steadily. "It's over, Drew." There was a brief moment of stillness between them, a silent recognition that this was about more than just rules and proof, but also betrayal, ambition, and unfinished history. Turner then went forward and handed Drew the warrant. "You're done." Drew merely smirked, his voice low and frightening. "You think you have won? You've just begun an uncontrollable conflict." Anna didn't flinch, but she knew it wasn't over. Drew was prepared for this moment. There were backup plans in place, as well as secrets waiting to be revealed. As security led him away, she felt the weight of what was to come. The takedown was only the beginning. Anna knew that if they'd seen the whole extent of Drew's strategy, they'd understand they were already several moves behind.